was a familiar figure in World Rugby circles. Yanni du Plessis, who has been there and done it, a World Cup winner. And just to the side of him, JJ Hanrahan, who's getting a shot at the number 10 shirt this evening. Montpellier, led by a former Gloucester legend tonight in Akapusi and Guerra. He'll have asked his men to summon a performance that will go some way to atoning for their humiliation in Dublin last week. Their biggest defeat in the European Cup as Leinster tore them apart. Imani Nandolo said this week they were ashamed by the performance, and now they have a chance to rectify things, Ben. And remarkably, having lost 3 pool matches, they can still qualify, as we were talking about a little earlier in the studio.
As the boys were alluding to, it's obviously the French team so good at home. The tough task for Northampton, but in their favour they have the fact that there's absolutely no pressure on them at all. There's a lot of players there that have been desperate for some game time, including that man, George North. He needs to get some form back into those legs before the Six Nations. So there's certainly a lot to play for Northampton and some of their younger players. Obviously plenty to play for Montpellier.
John Lacey, the man in charge, and George North immediately on the ball for Northampton. Montpellier with this wonderful home record here at the El Trad Stadium. They've won 17 of their last 18 in all here. And with that sniff of a quarter-final place, it would be only the second time that they've achieved that. But interestingly, in 3 attempts, they've not actually managed to beat Northampton yet. So we are set for a very interesting battle this evening. This is Charles Gelly, opening line out for Montpellier. It's nicely worked as well, and Nkera immediately onto the ball, setting the target alongside Dumoulin. Out it comes for Katrakilis to Mani, well marshalled by Tuatavake. Nick White, scrum half for Montpellier this evening, allegedly on his way to the Exeter Chiefs. Good contest for the ball, but it's still in Montpellier's hands, and Tamani carries it on. Little show from Kellyan Galetier, one of the Montpellier-born players. And, trying to work some space for the big man on the outside, Nadolo.
You see his cross, can't you? Just taking all his space. No one straightening up, running back against the ball. So he doesn't need much space. He doesn't want to run round his opponent. He's quite happy to go over the top, but if his feet are already treading on the whitewash when he receives the ball, not an awful lot he can do. That man against him, Estelles, will be pretty happy.
Whipped away by Dixon. Saints with the first bit of meaningful possession of the evening. Dixon, who has found himself no longer really first choice 9 at the club. Nick Groom has rather assumed that mantle in recent weeks. Sent skywards by Nandolo, picked up by Malander, who in turn is flattened by Willemse, the big South African. Saints having to make a couple of late changes. Jamie Gibson ruled out with shoulder problem. Hence the presence of Ratuna Yarawa at lock for them tonight. First sight of Geoffrey Michel from the back for Montpellier. And that's loose. And Saints will profit as a result.
So disappointed to see Nadolo kick the ball with his first opportunity. A load of grass in front of him. Could have really set the scene for this game for himself. He's probably under orders. We see the ball going down. Fairly easy, eyes come up off it. I just want to see first carry for Nadolo. If he's got a lot of space behind him, he's going to frighten people, especially some of these young Northampton players.
So the pack's very evenly matched in the weight department. Saints, of course, having recovered a little bit of form recently. 4 on the bounce. Signs of life after a very difficult opening to the season, and one of the reasons for their resurgence is this man, Timana Harrison, who's been playing some wonderful rugby. A couple of tries against Castres, but the ball has been knocked on and the opportunity is lost.
Such a shame for the Saints. Really good scrum, which meant that all the back row from Montpellier were backpedaling. That gives Harrison the chance to get off the breakdown. Just wondering where that hand comes from. It's his own man trying to clear out. Knocks the ball out of Dixon's hands. That would have been a huge statement for that front row. The amount of experience against them on paper. They might have been slightly concerned going into this game, but first scrum on their own ball as well, with their hooker having to lift his foot. Got Montpellier going backwards. Now they get a shot at them on the Montpellier feed. See Montpellier locking out, not trying to give Cummins back at them too much.
Nguera feeds White. Nandolo is brought on the dummy run. Instead it's Dumoulin who is launched, and quick ruck ball to work with here. Tamani, Michel, Nangusa. Saints trying to hold them up in the choke tackle, and they've done enough to please John Lacey.
Good defence from the Saints, because it was a really well worked move off the back of the scrum from Montpellier. As you said, bringing Nadolo really tight against the scrum after the pick-up from the base. That just holds those Northampton defenders. No one wants to drift off and leave one man on his own with Nadolo coming at him. Here's the Nguera pick. 8-9. Nadolo short, goes across the face. You can see how far they have to cover across. I think it was Tui Tavake who has to come across, make the initial tackle. Doesn't quite get his hands on that, drags everyone else in.
Crouch!
But the choke tackle's good. Saves Northampton. They get the put-in.
Bind.
Saints played here 8 years ago, won a tight one by just a 4-point margin. It's in the days that Louis Picamol was playing here. Of course, a man left out of the Saints lineup this evening, along with a host of other stars of the Northampton setup. Good defence at the base of the scrum by Nick White. Harrison struggling to get the ball out. He'd broken his bind to pick it up, even though he hadn't left the back of the scrum. He was unbound. He was entitled to go around and take him on, caught him right at the base. Taken in by Nangusa, and this is Nandolo sizing up Harry Malander, gets the offload away, but it's over the head of Tamani. Saints kicking away their turnover ball, so Nangusa begins the operation all over again. Nick White, familiar with the Montpellier coach, played under Jake White with the Brumbies. This is the first sight of George North, ball in hand, and good power from North, heading up towards the 22. Hanrahan tries to leave that really late, just a little bit too late in the end for Nutley.
Would have been great if that had gone behind Nutley on that hard line, because he'd dragged the defenders in, and that man there was receiving treatment, so he wasn't on his wing. They were short in the back, just could have had an opportunity. Brilliant power to get through. As you said, maybe just could have gone across the body slightly earlier here, just looking for him. Maybe needed a little bit more torque from his outside, from Timoni.
Just one of the fresh faces in the Saints front row there, Charlie Clare. Made his European debut against Montpellier back in October. Ben's already mentioned the callow nature of that Saints front row. Waller just 24, Paul Hill only 21. Charlie Clare very new to top flight European rugby. The free kick has been awarded to the home side.
Not square and steady first.
John Lacey took a bit of stick, didn't he, last week for his refereeing of the game between Was and Toulouse. Dai Young particularly uncomplimentary about the marshalling of the breakdown that day. Thought that the emphasis was far too much on giving the defending team the advantage.
Backwards.
Esteles, Argentinian international, played in the Rio Olympics in the sevens team. Malander.
Stop, 5!
Gusa underneath it. George North comfortably the taller man, but it's fallen nicely for White. That looked forwards, but onwards they go. Lacey unmoved. And Gusa. Katrakilis, Demoulin, Villemsa, Nandolo. How did he get that away? How did he do it? Absolutely incredible offload from Nemani Nandolo, and the try is scored by Kellyanne Galetier. Absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, stunning offload. It's the big step initially, which gives him the collision win there. Drops his shoulder, one fend round the back. Ball in the outside of his outside hand, and just no power at all needed. Just needs to leave the ball up there to run onto. What an offload that is. 3 players go for him, understandably, with his 130 kilos, having dropped his shoulder to bounce one. Hand off and round the back. It's that late decision making. As Tuala steps in on him, just to react so quickly and wrap that big left hand, big left paw around his shoulders and just leave the ball up in the air.
But he was outspoken in the week, Nandolo. I mentioned it a little earlier. Not happy with the way things went in Dublin, quite understandably, making up for it tonight. Katrakilis does the rest. Very strong off the tee this season, and here we're going to get another look at it.
There's no real deception, is there? That means there's 4 white shirts out there. There's the 5th coming in. When you've got that sort of power, it doesn't really matter whether they've tied in defenders in midfield. Galatier, the grateful recipient of a wonderful upload.
Wonderful soft skills for a man clearly widely recognised for his powerful game, but to see the lighter touches alongside it is something a little bit special. So the platform's set, but the ball is spilt forwards. Northampton try to make the most of this bonus ball, if you like. Out it comes. Hanrahan dribbles it through. Who's there? Tamani's after it, but so too is Hanrahan himself. That again has gone forwards on 2 separate occasions. Firstly from the Saints. Nice little dig from Hanrahan.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate that the man outside him's a prop who'd stepped in front of him. I think it was Paul Hill, so he has to do the chasing himself. Just there, as the ball nips up, you can see the referee straight away puts his arm out for the advantage. But if this is someone slightly quicker outside him and not in front of him, who has to check his run, that could well have been danger for Montpellier. Northampton could have very quickly evened up the score.
So a man down being treated, but Montpellier off to a strong start. There's Franz Steyn alongside Bismarck Duplessis, neither of them available tonight. Steyn, of course, paying the price for that high shot on Johnny Sexton last week, which cost him so dear.
Talking of high shots, Hanrahan there, just a little bit lazy with that arm. You can see it looks better from that angle than the reverse, doesn't it? Not that much power behind it. He certainly thinks it was the worst thing that's ever happened.
Interesting reaction.
Completely stable now, guys.
So a defensive scrum here for Montpellier, who've looked pretty solid on their own ball. Scrum time.
Set. No, please.
See, they lock out originally and then they come back, but that's a real... very, very quick on the whistle.
Loose head driving.
Referee
Angle straight across the scrum.
saying it must have been a call that came in from his assistant, because it's on the other side to Lacey. I wasn't 100% sure that it wasn't Duplessis that had gone first.
Number 1.
It certainly released the
Listen,
pressure
don't do that,
via the
don't
boot
do
of
that again,
Katrakilis.
it's deliberate.
And news from Castres. A try for Leinster, and it's come from Robbie Henshaw. Leinster knowing that victory tonight wraps up a home quarter-final for them. They've just been in scintillating form. They're leading by 10 points to 0 against Castres at the moment.
While you were watching that try, I was watching the replay of the scrum. 100% Duplessis who went in at the angle first. Montpellier get the benefit.
Joe Tamani just shaking off the defenders. This is horrible tackling from Northampton. He's come through 3 or 4 men who really should have nailed them, and Nandolo carries it forwards. Montpellier pressing hard again, just 10 metres or so away from the try line, driven on this time by Mikko Tadze, the big Georgian. Katrakilis, Willemse looking to suck in those defenders and tie them up at the breakdown, and John Lacey awards the penalty. Side entry this time.
Yeah, I think George North had done really well to get in on the ball. He was trying to strip it. As a result, he was in a good position to compete. Montpellier realised that. The referee says they come in at the side to make the clearance.
And Malander does the necessary, but this was magical from Tamani. It was pretty horrible from a Saints defensive perspective.
No, it wasn't.
I think they were expecting him to step in more, but he just glides through the swinging arm, the old turnstile tackle. And then drags in lots of defenders. They do well to reorganise their defensive line, the Saints.
Malander's coughed up the ball in contact. Montpellier drop on it.
No advantage.
What always annoys me a little bit then, if you know your player's running through a brick wall,
Just stay nice and straight.
competition from Harrison at the breakdown. If you know that your player's running into a brick wall, as Malander was there, he doesn't want to be getting it as he hits the wall. He wants a little bit of time just to make sure it's in the breadbasket and he can set himself for the contact. There's a difference between when a 9 puts you through a hole and you want it as late as possible there to hold the defenders, and when you know that it's been red, give it to the man early. We saw it so many times with Leicester at Racing last week. The amount of times that players were expected to run through a brick wall, and guess what? They cough up the ball.
Stay line, stay line.
No question, Saints pack is looking to exert its authority, and that set piece, Tamani keeps it alive. Lovely handling from Michel and Katrakilis, and again it's Nandolo setting things up here for Montpellier, with Saints recovering themselves through Tuala. Michel. Again, Nandolo causing havoc when he's either on or near the ball. Dumoulin to use Nagusa, trying to slip through the tackle of Hanrahan, eventually clobbered by Waller. Tamani happy to mix it with George North. Nagusa. Montpellier using their wings really effectively at the moment. Two very powerful Fijian wingers, getting them plenty of touches in these early stages. A little bit of juggling work from Michel, looking for support, and it arrives in the form of Ouedraogo. Taken in by Ratuni Yarawa.
Brilliant hit from Dixon to turn that ball over.
And now there might be opportunities with the defensive line a little broken here of Montpellier. North looking to exploit it and running into his own man.
Pitch is really boggy down that George North wing, and I think as he goes to accelerate on the outside, the turf just gives away underneath him. There's the counter-rucking tackle on White, opposite number by Dixon. And then Montpellier slow to react and get round the corner. One flies out the line, Hanrahan deals with him. Just watch here, goes to go on the outside, just that right foot slips away, takes away all his power of acceleration. He has to cut back inside, and some of his own players run in front of him. This is what he can do right on the outside, that skill set. That's what's so difficult. If you fly in hard to make the hit on him, then he dribbles it along the floor in behind you. But if you don't and you hang off, you can bounce off the touchline, secure the ball.
Paul Willemse secures the line-out ball for Montpellier. White for Dumoulin. Katrakilis lying deep. Michel. Nice line cut by Nangusa, offering himself from the other wing, and then it's gone forwards in the tackle and found touch.
You mentioned about the wings working hard off their wings, popping up in midfield. Probably the last thing the Saints want to see in that outside channel is Nangusa and Ndolo. Does the outside defender step in and help and give an overlap to the most potent attacking threat on the field?
Harry Malander handled the situation well. He's had his troubles this season with injury, 9 weeks out with ankle trouble. Hanrahan needing a little bit of patching up at the moment as well. And trouble for Alexandre Dumoulin, replaced by
Let's use the lines, lads.
Vincent Martin.
Just 1 sec now, happy? Yes, let's go.
That has a look of permanence about it.
Pour Montpellier, sortie du numéro 12, Alexandre Dumoulin, entrée du numéro 23, Vincent Martin.
Doesn't look like a man who's coming on again anytime soon.
So getting that ice machine on it straight away.
Bind.
It's the thigh, probably dead leg, knee into it maybe.
Harrison launching himself from the base and relishing the contact.
Advantage 9. Advantage.
Playing with the advantage here, Saints. Tuala brought into the equation. Malander gathers one-handed.
Advantage over.
Sizing up the opportunities. Good pressure from Saints. Tuala.
Northampton just realising the Montpellier starting to send flyers out of the line from the outside centre wing channel. If they can just hold the player in backfield, the space around the outside.
But the intercept,
get the ball there
from Ndolo. There could be more trouble brewing here. Read that quite beautifully. Set up yet another excellent field position for the home side. Katrakilis, Willemse. Route 1 from Willemse. Mighty effective it is too. Quick ball for White. Swiftly along the line, and then the attempted intercept from Esteles. And Montpellier will have the scrummage. Powerful running from Ndolo in the first instance.
He goes one-handed, which is risky, but he knocks the ball up into the air. Entitled to do it. 100% sure what our French friends were showing us there.
So a breather for some of the players out there, and in the meantime an opportunity for us to let you know what else is coming on BT Sport this weekend. A weekend of fabulous rugby in the Champions Cup. Claremont against Exeter tomorrow lunchtime, 12:30 from Pool 5. Exeter needing another miracle, but it isn't beyond the realms. Saracens Toulon tomorrow from 3 o'clock at Allianz Park. Sarries looking to nail down that home quarter-final. And Leicester against Glasgow at tea time, 5:15 from Pool 1. What an opportunity that is for Glasgow to grab a first ever quarter-final spot in the European top flight. And then Sunday from 2:45, Pool 2, Zebre against Wasps. And you'd have to say Wasps in the box seat to nail down their home quarter-final potentially as well, providing things go their way. Certainly they'll be looking to rack up a big score just as they did against the Italians at the Rico. So Montpellier poised.
Use it now.
Nangusa at first receiver.
Advantage.
Two men to drag him down, the advantage being played.
Leave it.
That's really poor, isn't it?
Rolling.
Got to make some effort to move away in the tackle. Clear and obvious to the referee.
You can see that.
Here, low tackle. Just hangs in there.
No, you can kick. 6 move, please. Just move. You can kick.
Paul Willemse is enjoying himself. And after that latest burst, I'm not surprised.
Difficult for Saints. You can see how boggy it is and how cut up the pitch is already there. Very, very difficult to stop a line out if it gets set up anyway.
To the tail and Uedrogo. And the ball being worked to Charles Jelly. And the crowd finding their voice. Jelly alongside Nangusa. And Jelly is very, very close. But Saints have won the ball.
Not brought down.
For me, that try is butchered. Northampton patting themselves on the back. Well, they might. This looks like it's going to be scored. The ball gets transferred to Nangusa. And I think it's a try, but they keep it at the front. They keep it in the danger zone. You can see 3 black shirts on the far side going over the line. Almost untouched. But the ball still held there. Can't see who that white shirt is right in on the ball up against Jelly.
How many times do we see that though, Ben? It's just that extra bit of composure, isn't it? Because another 5-10 seconds, keeping it tight, working the legs, pumping the thighs, and then you cross the line and it's all made that much more simple. But white line fever does funny things.
Fever, exactly.
Let's go. I asked you happy or not, so we go a little closer. We sort it out, okay?
Difficult area for the referee to scrum here as well with that pitch how it is. They've moved it slightly off the last mark. Well cut up under the players.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Good initial hit from Northampton. Waller needs to be careful that his hips don't come out too far.
Same, not stable.
The referee this time spins the coin and says that it was Montpellier who wasn't keeping it stable.
And the giant boot of Harry Malander gives Northampton a little bit of breathing space. Yanni Duplessis trudges rather wearily into reverse. Arrived here with his brother, of course, Bismarck, after 8 seasons at the Sharks in South Africa. Thoughtful front stain. Jelly looking to find Willemse, but instead it's Saints' ball. Hanrahan looking to exploit the open spaces. That's forwards from Ongera.
That is forward.
Saints midfield just trying to lift it over the top of an on-rushing defence.
Lots of scrums.
Here at backtracking, Tart to go for it. Good intercept from Craig. Willemse, a little dummy at the front, goes off the ground. Shouldn't really do that, but almost slows himself down when it comes back to him. Craig stays alive.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Ethan Waller will have a few tales to tell after tonight, won't he? Young prop making his way up against a World Cup winner this evening in a real tussle.
Listen to me. There's too much I'm not going to choose. Let's finish it now.
quite typically old school French, that they're almost trying to lock out at the beginning, then come back at you late. So Northampton are sort of feeling like they're getting the edge, and then it comes back, and that's what destabilises it.
Crouch!
Very different to a Premiership side where you'd expect that pressure to be on from the referee's set call.
Well, it's not the easiest of balls for Harrison, but he's done well, presenting it nicely. Hanrahan and Tuatavaki gathering but slipping.
Stop!
Michel. Rather aimless. Tuala looks to find touch. I'm not sure he's going to get the bounce he'd like. Mangusa is there. And North gathers it in. Esteles, brought down by the try scorer Galetier, picked up by Paul Hill, and then Lee Dixon has won the decision from John Lacey. Montpellier guilty of playing the 9, and here comes Tuatavaki. Saints with the advantage, and now with the penalty.
Nariashvili just goes off his feet, thinks that he's been missed by the clear out. He'll just hold on to him enough as he goes to compete for the ball, loses his footing and collapses on top.
And Malander puts them inside the 22.
This is it. Stella's good carry. One clear out. And Hill gets the ball. He's on the charge. Harrison's been good off the base, hasn't he? Started to get his mojo back when he first burst onto the scene. I know it was a slow progress for him to get into the as a regular in Northampton, but that season, that tremendous season he had a couple of years ago, it was his ball carrying that really led the way. Since his England call-up, not been quite as good, but tonight certainly on the front foot.
Ethan Waller, lovely offload for Nutley, who's very close. Saints with opportunities here, and Dixon slithers his way in. Lovely burst from Ethan Waller, and the scrum half able to make the most of it, and Saints back in the hunt.
That's the Northampton way, isn't it? When they get front foot ball, and Harrison giving it them tonight. Another run around the corner, there on the front foot, defensive line going backwards, getting behind, good offload. And now big numbers, panicking defensive line. Dixon, such a sharp operator, throws that little dummy and then dips underneath, nose to the line. Really smart play. And that is exactly the Northampton of old that perhaps we were missing at the beginning of the season.
Leaving a relatively straightforward conversion for JJ Hanrahan. Yet to kick in anger this season. Plenty of game time, but Myler super reliable from the tee. Hanrahan more than capable.
Extra little offload, just drags in extra players, means that the black shirts that are coming from the previous breakdown can't get round the corner. They're short of numbers. Desperation from Angira, thinking I've got to get out as soon as Dixon passes the ball. Dixon knows that. Little dummy dips underneath.
Ratuni Yarawa claiming the ball, due to be on the bench tonight, but into the side on account of Jamie Gibson's injury.
Brought to ground yourself.
Guerra, Katrakilis, Nadolo again the offload, but Vincent Martin wasn't ready for it. Got to expect it seemingly all the time. where Nandolo is concerned. There's pool 4 as it stands. Leinster, of course, leading Castres in France at the moment by a healthy margin last time we checked, so they're far and away out in front. And 2 points would not be enough to help Montpellier on their way. They need a win, certainly this evening, preferably with a bonus point. And then the pressure would switch to Glasgow and Toulon.
Crouch! Bind. Set. Stay.
Good solidity to the Northampton pack. Not the best of passes, not the kindest of passes for Hanrahan. He's done well though in trying circumstances. Clare.
Stay outside now. Stay down, 7.
Dixon finding Malander lying deep. Langusa. Bouncing off.
Off feet, no!
Arsi Tuala. Yanni Duplessis finds Nandolo. He's got a kicking game as well, not just out of hand either, as we saw at the last World Cup. More than accomplished in the goal kicking department, but the ball is loose, and again it's Dixon who tucks it through, and Geoffrey Michel is there for Montpellier.
Just wanted it to come more off the outside of his boot there, Dixon, didn't he? He wanted it to go towards the touchline. Rolled a little bit straight. Good thinking though, there was no opportunity to get the pass away, and as a result of that they get a line out in good attacking position. Really good carry from Esteles. Nandolo might have a good kicking game. He hasn't got the best chasing game in the world. Esteles spots that, accelerates onto it. Big carry. Bouncing players off. Threats on either wing, haven't they? And when they start popping up in midfield, it's a concern for Northampton.
Charlie Clare finds James Craig. First start for him for 5 weeks. Dixon again looking for openings. Nutley. Attorney Arawa. Good pressure and good continuity now from Northampton. Nutley working so hard in position. And Montpellier hoping that they'd slowed that up sufficiently and legally, but onwards come Saints. Dixon finding a few soft edges, aren't they, at the moment? Ratuni Yarawa running hard. They're within 8 metres. Wide they go, and forward it goes.
There's got to be at least a warning here for Muriashvili. Same player that went off his feet before competing at breakdown. That's exactly what we're going to see.
When he arrives, he must go on the ball, not on his elbows, okay? That's 2.
Just asking questions all the time around the base. It's when they get that momentum, they look such a better team, Northampton, don't they?
Just seemed to take them a little while to settle in. But now that they found a way onto the scoreboard as well, they are posing Jake White's team some problems and potentially could move in front here. Hanrahan wisely making sure the studs are clear. Doesn't look the most ideal of surfaces. Three more from Hanrahan, 3 more for Northampton. And having absorbed plenty of pressure in the opening quarter,
No more.
they're looking more and more like themselves.
Northampton, pénalité réussie par son numéro 10, JJ Hanrahan. Le score est match
Had the warning now.
10.
Black mark against his name. Will have to be very, very disciplined at every breakdown he goes into for the next 20 minutes or so.
Off feet, no tree!
Charlie Clare performing the tidy up. Michel. Guerra. Adolo trying to shake off the attentions of Esteles and the smaller man, the lighter man, the whippet that is Esteles.
He tries to offload behind his own back and gets caught. Look at this, he's going to go there. I'll just try and flip it behind my back. No, my backside gets in the way.
You've got to watch him like a hawk, haven't you? All the tricks. Pool 4 as it stands currently. Leinster out in front. We understand that Castres have levelled things in France. So it's 10 points apiece between Leinster and Castres currently. Northampton on 13. We know their European campaign is done, and obviously Montpellier needing the victory tonight. Harrison fighting for possession, and finding spaces where seemingly there were none. Impressive showing so far from Tamara Harrison, and Mallander's through a big hole as well, and Hanrahan's alongside him needing some support. Here it arrives, and the pass just isn't quite good enough, and Nutley can't cling on.
He needs someone to cut back when he's going across the field like that, dragging defenders with him. Brilliant carry again from the back, Harrison, and then lovely inside ball from Mallander, taking away that inside defence, and now he's just looking for Nutley, I think, to come back against the grain, make a decision for him. He's pulled Michel over there, creating a little bit of space back on the outside, back on the inside, sorry.
I think just for a minute there, all went dark in the world of Ben Nutley as Nemani Nadolo levelled him.
Bind. Set.
So less than 90 seconds remaining. Saints with this slender advantage, but Montpellier with possession, but they're under pressure in that set-piece scrum. Make no mistake about it, regardless of the reset.
Well, I've mentioned before at some of the penalties that I think Duplessis is going in at an angle. When the referee's there, he can't do that, so he's staying straighter, and I think Waller's got the upper hand. Just probably pops him up slightly too early there. It's quite an aggressive pop-up as well, which Duplessis, using all his experience, thinks if I do it early enough, the referee might reset. Had he gone back an extra step, that's a penalty to Northampton.
Bind. Set.
Better position now, Duplessis, a little bit lower, but there's a little slip of that right foot.
Use it!
Just enough of a recovery from Montpellier, but John Lacey is not going to be awarding a penalty anytime soon. Nick White was waiting and hoping. Nadolo showing off all his many attributes tonight with a fine clearance kick.
Clock's gone red, we'll have time for the line out. Here, the Northampton players calling what move they're going to do. Opportunity for that 100% call. Strike move.
Again, it's Craig who does the work.
Just gonna kick it off.
And Dixon will take this 3-point margin. And he seems wise to do so, because Saints seem to be finding themselves here in Montpellier, who came fast out of the blocks through Kellyanne Galetier. Wonderful offload from Nadolo, but the try from Lee Dixon and the points from the boot of Hanrahan has put them in front at half-time. Montpellier 7, Northampton 10.
As it stands at the moment in the Champions Cup, and Castres at the moment are leading Leinster 17 points to 10. That puts them into 9th place. They'll be looking for a bonus point win to sneak into that top 8. Pressure's on Leinster if they're going to want a home draw. Northampton are into the top 12. That is about as far as they will expect to get at this stage. But they lead Montpellier 10 points to 7. out in France. Time to hand back to our commentary team. Ali and Ben.
Work to be done then for Montpellier. They're going to have to go some in this second half to give themselves a shot of that quarter-final place. Temana Harrison has been a force of nature tonight. He's really got the bit between his teeth, Ben. Named in Eddie Jones's Six Nations squad, and with Billy Vunipola missing, there are question marks over that number 8 shirt, because nobody would tell you that Nathan Hughes has got it absolutely nailed down.
Well, particularly because the area that England are missing is not only Billy Vunipola but Mako's ball carrying ability as well. So Eddie's going to have people that can get that sort of impact with ball in hand in his squad, be that in the starting 15 or on the bench as well. So there are opportunities.
Here's a man who's well used to getting over the gain line, Paul Willemse. He's been doing it to very good effect for the home side this evening. Montpellier not finding the necessary accuracy with their passing, and now they're in trouble right at the start of this second period. Nick White. Back for Nandolo. Not finding touch though, and Tuala doesn't quite manage to feed it infield in time. What a half of rugby he had. Good tackle from Michel.
It's a good call, wasn't it? But obviously we've got the benefit of the slow motion replay.
Guerra, familiar pose. Crashing it up the middle, just as he did for Gloucester so many times to such good effect. Tester this one for Asi Tuala, wrapped up in the tackle by Martin.
Leave it 11! 1! Go pull him now.
And Shelley was lying on the floor holding the ball there.
Tamani spotting a little gap, but again clawed down to the ground, this time by Nutley. Driven on by Gelli, up to halfway. Katrakilis, barnstorming run up the middle by Martin, on for Dumoulin, remember, from the first half. White. Ferocious defending from Northampton, very vocal out there at the moment in this defensive work. Again, it's Martin. The ball is now in Northampton's hands, and all that defensive work is beginning to pay off.
No prizes for guessing what the Northampton message in the changing rooms was at half-time. Intensity in defence. Could hear them shouting, chop, tackle, get him below. Really good straightening line by Martin. Hand comes through, but perfectly entitled to do that. Scrum half had already picked the ball up. Nick White, he's fair game to be tackled just like anyone else, as long as the man doing that has stayed on his feet and not jumped over the top of the ruck.
So the scrummage, which has been an interesting battle so far this evening. Saints with this very inexperienced front row, and frankly not an outfit that plays together. Rarely, if ever, to be honest, this collusion of 8.
That might tell you what the Montpellier coaches were asking for at half-time. Much better scrum from them.
Lucky to secure the ball, I think, Northampton there. Real disappointment amongst the Montpellier players and the fans likewise. Harrison really given no option at all. Montpellier powering their way forwards.
Crouch! Bind. Set.
more like it from Northampton. Harrison again sets off. Dixon finds Esteles. Nice work for Tuala in space. Tuala pinning his ears back. He's heading for the corner. The offload is a good one, and North is going to run it in. Brilliant work from Northampton. What a start to the second half. They've come out full of intensity, full of purpose, and North has made the most of a wonderful break from Tuala.
Outstanding try. Really well worked. Training ground move. Tuala coming from the blind side after a little bit of inventive movement to create that gap back on the inside, and then good initial scrum. There's the cutback play. Esteles, knowing that Tuala's going to be there, he pins his ears back, realises with defend he's not going to get there, and then uses the height of George North, but does that foot go into touch?
Well, it is quite literally touch and go, isn't it? Very, very marginal, this call.
Hanrahan should have kicked it.
Well, he should have probably just gone for the drop kick, shouldn't he, at this point?
I think we need to look at a replay of the feet before the
Intervention from Ollie Hodges, our TMO tonight.
Now they're going to have to rock that back. Has the ball left his fingertips before that foot goes down? It doesn't matter if his foot's over the touchline. Does it go down? Oh, it's so close.
It's almost instantaneous, isn't it? The release and the boot hitting the whitewash.
It's not the best angle. It was the one from the front that was going to give us the answer.
This should be definitive. Oh, how'd you call that?
Foot in touch for you.
Yes, Johnny, foot in touch.
That's harsh. That is harsh. It may be right, but it is very harsh. And Saints will be mortified.
Couldn't have been closer, could it?
Well, you just wonder if that had been at the Gardens, whether that decision would have been made. Not to suggest that...
Or if that had been Montpellier. Forwards now need to switch back on, try and turn this ball over.
Taken in by Kellyan Galetier, scorer of the opening try this evening. Nardolo entrusted with a lot of the kicking duties defensively, getting a reasonable amount of distance on it. Former Crusaders man, spent a bit of time with the Exeter Chiefs as well, 18 months or so with Exeter. Didn't work out for whatever reason, but I think he's an altogether different player these days. Certainly you get the impression if the Chiefs had the option on him right now, they'd probably bite his hand off, but they're blessed, of course, with quality wingers at Sandy Park. But here come Northampton once again. Lovely pass from Malander, just enough delay on the ball. Hanrahan links up nicely with Waller.
Hands twisted his ankle in that last challenge.
Tackle move! 6 moves!
Taking a while to get to his feet. Dixon searching for assistance, and it is the Wild West at the ruck, and George North is having to deal with all manner of problems. He's being held up in the tackle by Uwe Drogo. John Lacey happy to let all of this continue. Hanrahan still down, looking in some discomfort, which will be a big worry for Northampton. Malander feeds Harrison. Good tackle coming in from Willems, who's really throwing himself around tonight. Malander from 48 metres out, well wide with the drop goal attempt.
Oh, they were going backwards, weren't they? They'd lost the momentum. Harrison hadn't won his collision for probably the first time in the game. Good option from Malander. Get back in the pocket. Shot to nothing, and if it goes over the dead ball line, as it does, the ball gets kicked back to Northampton.
Struck it well, just not quite the direction on it, and the grimace from JJ Hanrahan will not please Northampton supporters. He started 7 of the last 8 matches and has become quite a pivotal man in this setup. Myler, the man largely preferred at number 10, but he's versatile. He can be used at 10 or 12. There's a lot of chatter about whether he might be heading back to Munster at the end of this season. But right now, Saints need him.
This is where he gets caught, offloads, and you just see that twist there, the final twist. Just as he's almost getting free, the foot gets caught, doesn't it, and gets twisted right round with the momentum of the tackler.
Stop!
Taken in by Patterson. Michael Patterson, former Sale Sharks man. Hanrahan looks to be fit and firing, but the ball turned over. White for Michel. Still wriggling. Nariashvili. Another blast from another Georgian, Konstantin Mikotadze. And Montpellier have the decision.
Doesn't quite play for that. Nothing wrong with it. Man lying there, blocking his way. Highlight it to the referee. Does he try and go over the top? Maybe he does.
Might be the first scrum half ever to have tried to go over the top in that situation. So Montpellier on the front foot, but not with line-out ball like that. It's fallen nicely for Northampton. They've disrupted very effectively. Hanrahan threads it through on a low trajectory.
Good sensible play, gets the turnover. Craig's been really good at putting pressure on, but it's just a breakdown between jumper and hooker in timing. Gera wanted it a little bit quicker.
Drogo gathers for Montpellier. Katrakilis finds Nadolo. Katrakilis again. It's gone very long, but it's been misjudged by Esteles. Good recovery from the Argentinian, who's sizing up the opportunities here before being clattered by Ngera and Tamani. Turnover ball for Montpellier. Options here. Vincent Martin. Geoffrey Michel. Nariashvili. Dismissing Dixon. Tamani. Very nearly the intercept, but space now for Nadolo. Barging his way through, trampling the Saints players like skittles. Just brutal. We've seen the soft skills, we've seen the offloads, we've seen the kicking game, now we see the finishing.
That's Hanrahan who has the best shot at getting him. He goes high, he's got to hit him, almost try and cut him in half towards the touchline while he's still juggling, but once he gets on the front foot, once he gets his core stable, even George North can't put a decent shot on it. Opportunity was there to stop him at source when he was juggling with the ball. He hadn't quite got himself set. They missed that opportunity and they pay the ultimate price, but what a finish from the big man.
Extraordinary. And replacements gathering for Montpellier as Dimitri Katrakilis lines up the conversion. A kicking style not dissimilar from the great Johnny Wilkinson, and results not too similar either, but dissimilar I should say. But what a finish this was.
Just tries to go around the shoulders. The ribs needed to be his target. But as soon as he gets that left foot planted, he can work off the touchline and drive into every shot that comes his way.
There's the owner, the club's owner, Moed Al-Trad. No doubt pleased at the scoreline at this stage. 14 points to 10. Still that quarter-final place up for grabs for Montpellier. The win, the bare minimum that they need tonight, but a bonus point win, that might really put the cat amongst the pigeons. We're learning that Leinster have levelled against Castres, 17 points apiece, and once more it is Henshaw. A brace tonight in France, scores level. So here is the pool as it stands now. Leinster out in front, 23 points. They're going to win the pool, but they might need to work a little harder to be sure of a home quarter-final. Montpellier now up to 15, which would make things interesting, wouldn't guarantee anything, but it'd put them in the mix. And they won the penalty here. Just a little momentum shift after a fairly lengthy period in which Saints certainly looked and felt as if they had the upper hand. Now the home side have got the win behind them. Not a huge amount of distance on the kick from Katrakilis. Changes have been made in that front row. Antoine Guillamon is on at tight head for Yanni Duplessis, certainly. Looks like Jacques Duplessis is on as well in the second row, the long blonde hair of the South African lock.
Tremez is on as well. So big impact at the first scrum for those substitutions.
And he can deal with the high balls as well, Nemani Ndolo. This is Watremez, twice a Challenge Cup winner, once with Montpellier, of course, last season, once with Biarritz. Ouedraogo is stopped in his tracks. This is Jacques Duplessis. Finding Martin, who finds Tamani, who can't find Nguera. It looks so promising for Montpellier, but Saints now have the ball, and Dixon is threading it wide. Nutley, North for support. North looking to go around the outside, and that is a thumping hit from Vincent Martin.
Great tackle. He stood further back. He reads George North, who had run a brilliant line outside Nutley, stays hidden for as long as possible, and then he comes round the corner late, asks for the shoulder ball, and the covering defender had read that like an exocet. He comes across the field. It's him who gives the ball to Joe Tomoni. That ball to Nguera causes the turnover, so really good work rate. You can see him in that breakdown, and yet he still managed to get across and make that hit on George North.
Jelly picking out Jacques Duplessis. First time he's come off the bench this season, normally a regular starter. And a good shove. Really good progress being made. Jelly is the man on the ball. Craig looking to disrupt things. And Saints given possession.
Sure, they stayed in front, slipped round the side. We were praising the referee last week on Rugby Tonight for getting his decisions right with Danny Cipriani's yellow card. Where does the Northampton trouble come from? Maybe his eyes were distracted by cheeky
Flash of the moon.
player.
There's Jacques du Plessis, 23-year-old South African. 3 seasons with the Bulls. Getting a few instructions from the skipper tonight, Ngera. Plenty of work still to do for Jake White's side. Off the back of their biggest ever European Cup defeat last week at the hands of Leinster. They've only qualified from their pool once before, back in 2013. This a really promising opportunity. Harrison for Dixon. Tuatavaki slammed in the tackle by Tamani.
Tamani's made a couple of really big hits in the last couple of minutes, hasn't he? One of them causing the turnover that led to the Nondolo try.
Wide go Northampton, and they find Ethan Waller. Good punch offered by the loose head. Harrison on the ball, working so hard tonight. Hanrahan, crossfield, looking to find Esteles. That's brilliant little tap back to find Tuala, and now Tuatavaki has Dixon with him. Flat ball at best, forward at worst.
Ball's available.
Tuala, and spilt by Patterson.
Working for Saints, is it, down that right-hand side? Ends up with Patterson spilling the ball, but just couldn't quite get. It was a little bit static, some of their offloading game. Nice go off the ball. Wonder why. Who was in front of him? Biggest player on the field. Good carry from Waller up that touchline. Does well to stay in field. Another one in midfield. Again, under pressure from Clare.
Cast have scored, by the way. They lead Leinster now by 24 points to 17. Another try from David Smith. James Fish is on at hooker for Northampton. Fish only made his first team debut back in November in the Anglo-Welsh Cup. He's replaced Charlie Clare, 20-year-old. And we've got a new scrum half as well in Kessel. Nandolo running straight through Hanrahan. Tamani the big fend. Montpellier on the march. Martin, lovely offload for Michel. This could pop up nicely for Nangusa. Nutley does well to stay in field, but Montpellier are awarded the penalty.
That doesn't take a tactical genius to work out this is going to happen. Nandolo at Hanrahan, we've seen him miss one tackle on him already. Drags Malander in, the offload comes, and then as the defence struggles to get in field, just uses that scrambling defender to brush him off with the handoff. So that ball might have been in touch, certainly, if the one for the try was, the disallowed Northampton try was. I'd say that one was too, but Montpellier getting the benefit of the doubt.
So they made a pretty critical decision here, Montpellier. They tuck it into the corner, they turn down the chance of points. They want tries, they want the bonus point. 2 more tries required, and good quality line-out ball. Really good quality line-out ball to work with.
Craig changed his bind there. I don't think it's going to make any difference unless they can get underneath.
Try awarded, number 3 of the night for Montpellier. And they are closing in on the opportunity of a quarter-final place. Celebrations in the French camp, and it is Jacques du Plessis who's been credited with the score.
It's the speed they get this moving forward straight away as they land. straight through the middle of Northampton's defence. They're a little bit short of numbers there. Craig going down the outside, they end up using him as a pivot. And then as the dive for the line, last man George North can't get underneath and stop the try being scored. Does a pretty good job, doesn't he? But there, the referee's got a really clear view.
That one is through as well. So Montpellier building up a tasty little lead here and giving themselves a shot in the remaining quarter to try to secure that bonus point.
Just wondering if there were two bits of foul play there, not deliberate foul play, but slipping the bind of Craig, but then in moving Craig, if the referee's happy with him, does Tamane come up the side and go past the ball carrier without transferring the ball? But two wrongs clearly making a right in the referee's mind.
That went forwards in the first instance from Waller, but Montpellier able to hack through. George North is bouncing his way into space. Finally runs into Vatremez. Malander finding only Nangusa. And the Fijian is away. Sending Tamane through the hole. Over the 10-metre line. Rather unconventional pass for Nandolo. In comes the tackle. And touch is found.
Oh, he just needs an extra little step off the touchline before the tackle comes in. Does well to juggle the ball, but he's just so confident that he's got the power to stay in field. Really good tackle coming in. Tuala.
I think that's Ken Pesey who's onto the field now.
Yeah.
Big first play from the replacement.
What a hit.
Well, had that pass gone to hand, surely Nandolo would have been away, having not had to break stride. As it was, he was slowed up just sufficiently. That's a little high from Jacques du Plessis on Harrison. The ball squirting out awkwardly for Kessel. Taken out by Willemse. Bodies everywhere.
Use it! Stay up, 20.
Kieran Brooks onto the field as well now. Replace Paul Hill on the tight head for Saints.
Ludlam's on as well. Northampton emptying the bench, trying to get some impetus back into their performance. 11 points down. Just chip away at that, get that 7 points back, and suddenly the pressure goes back on the home side, but they'll have to do it at a different end of the field. They can't afford to be camped down in their own half.
The line-out has not been entirely accurate tonight, but it's working nicely this time around, and Jacques du Plessis sets it up for White. Nandolo again, bursting through the middle, just making a vital few metres, putting them on the front foot. Montpellier attacking through Katrakilis. White. Gelly. Nangusa. Not to be this time around, but the penalty was coming.
Nangusa and Nandolo, it's almost like those game of kids rugby where you've got two really good players, they won't pass it to anyone else.
You pass to me, I'll pass to you. I don't think Nemani Nandolo was best pleased with that one. Some operation on the flanks, isn't it, for Montpellier with those two, the Fijians operating in tandem.
It's a really good kick into the corner, isn't it? Bang on the 5 metre.
Make sure he's down now, guys. Before the drive, make sure he's down.
What a chance now. What a chance for Montpellier to grab the bonus point. The bonus point that might help them into the quarterfinals for only the second time in their history. in the top flight of European rugby. It's there for Gelli. Patience required. We've seen them butcher one score from this sort of distance out in the first half. A little bit of over-exuberance.
Outstanding defence from the Saints.
And Saints have it, and Harrison has it. And he's stepping to Marnie, and Brooks is looking to get the offload away, and he's lost possession. And Nick White is almost away. Galetier sets the target once more. White for Nangusa, and the skipper's on the wide outside, and Guerra well held. Duplessis tackled low by Fish. Nick White is sniping. Not quite enough power to turn and score, and he's stripped in the process. The turnover really exceptional.
Yeah, really good carry, gets half through, thinks about diving for the line, but that's going to put him under pressure. But in making that decision, just delays slightly too long, and a really good turnover, but caught over the line. That means Northampton are going to have to face a scrum coming at them, looking for that fourth try. And Goose has been good, hasn't he? They've straightened well, Montpellier. We've had a really good mix of the outside arcs. There's the excellent turnover. Was it Kessels who got in there on his opposite number? And Montpellier have just got that balance right of the outside arc, getting the ball wide to their big wings, and then those players in midfield straightening as well. Very, very difficult for a defensive line to be able to adjust if it's constantly a different threat coming at you. Big scrum. Lots of changes in that front row. Northampton, in my opinion, had a little bit of dominance in the first half. That's ebbed away. Now Brooks is going to have to really stand firm against big threat from Montpellier. They'll want the ball in and hooked quickly and cleanly. Ball at number 8's feet, and then you'll see that power come on and the strength grow as the scrum goes on longer. Brooks nice and low, good lockout position. He's got to stay there now until the referee asks him to use it. Good job, Northampton.
White, Nangusa. Well tackled by Hanrahan, but it's there now for Nguera, the offload, and this time Nadolo can't cling on. Opportunity squandered for the moment. Nick White trying to give them a second shot at it. Martin, Nandolo, this time floored again by Pisu, who just seems to have his number. Clung on to 1 foot, and it was enough this time. Still inside the 22. Uedrogo bounces off Brooks, makes an important couple of metres. Nicely set up for White. Tamani on the crash ball. Fish with the tackle. Still they come. Vincent Martin, who's been outstanding since he came on in the opening half. The ball has gone loose from Montpellier, and Saints defending like tigers out there.
Well, they are. You can see it's taking it out of them. Lots of hands on knees. Huge hit from Tiamana Harrison. Tamani's had a really good game for Montpellier as well, hasn't he? Both in defence and carrying. He's probably been the best at straightening for them when everything's been a little bit lateral. A little bit of a head collision there on Kieran Brooks. But that's the shot coming in really good, and then they follow it up with a secondary. Big hit from Harrison.
And apologies to Saints fans everywhere for describing your team as defending like tigers. Probably not what you were after, but you get the general gist. Wild animals.
You'll get lynched.
Sometimes the mouth speaks before the brain is engaged.
You'll have to make it up to them by saying Tigers discipline like Saints at some point during the season.
So 11 minutes or so for Montpellier to make this pay. A win would be decent, and it would make sure that they were part of the conversation as regards the quarter-finals of the Champions Cup. A bonus point, well, that would change things. That really would give them a great shot. Bonus point tonight, and the hope that either Glasgow lose at Leicester or Toulon lose without a bonus point at Saracens, they would be through.
Well, despite a monumental Northampton defensive effort, just think that it might be coming, don't you? It just has that feel about it that Northampton really are just hanging on. Some huge defensive efforts, tackles coming in. That one piece he did on Nandolo. How they repelled that drive at the line last time. But it's all pressure.
Penalty Montpellier. More opportunities. We've seen them squander a couple. Arguably they should have the bonus point in the bag already. We think about the driving maul from the opening half that should have led to the try, and then Nandolo spilling over the line. Now another chance.
Still crabbing to the right a little bit, isn't it? You can see rolling in there. Beasley just ending up facing towards the touchline on his own.
Execution needs to be slick here from Montpellier. They have set this nicely. That looks very solid. A meaty drive. Gelli this time, ball in hand, and can he find his way to the ground? Yet again, the hooker struggling to deliver that killer blow.
The question's all important. I just wonder whether the referee's waiting to see, as everyone gets up, whether he thinks it's a try by how everyone was placed. There were definitely some legs underneath.
Yes, John.
Yeah, Ali, I've no clear grounding, so try yes or no, please.
Try yes or no, checking it.
Yeah.
So just to explain, the TMO has to clearly see the ball grounded. It's not, is there any reason I can't award the try? That's because the referee could see the ball on top of legs.
There's not a whole lot of clarity from that first view. You can see Gelli trying to wriggle his way off the legs of a number of Saints defenders, and then in goes Peacey to
Johnny,
obscure the view still
no clear
further.
and obvious grounding there.
So yet again, Montpellier denied. And if they don't come away with a bonus point tonight, Ben, they will be kicking themselves for a long time to come.
Yeah, Peacey does a great job, because again, you might think that he's come in from the side, but as soon as the ball goes over the line, there is no offside line. You can come in from any direction. He does exactly that, and he obscures the view, not only for the referee, but the TMO. Big scrum this, though.
Bind. Set.
Again, another messy affair.
Saints just have to be careful. Just looked like the back five started to walk round to their left on that last scrum. Brooks ending up head down. You can see hinging at the hip on his opposite number, Vatramez. Referee couldn't decide between the pair of them.
Bind. Set.
Now then, this is the moment. This is Montpellier's moment, surely.
Stay
Good
back.
hustle from Kessel. Whipped out for Nandolo, banking on the big man. And that is why Nandolo scores. Montpellier have their bonus point. And maybe We will check, because there appears to be some debate as to the validity of the score. Nandolo's very happy. He's very confident. It may be the try that leads the way to the quarterfinals. Not too much debate about that. No debate at all. Bonus point in the bag, and fitting that it goes the way of Nemani Nandolo, who's been the standout player tonight. Received with rapture by those inside the Al Trad Stadium. They know the significance of that moment. Montpellier have really given themselves a chance now. A bonus point win here could put them in the last 8 for only the second time in their history.
Well, if you're Montpellier, you're 5 metres out, you've got a blind side of about 7-8 metres. One-on-one, you're going to back Nandolo to go over every time, regardless of who he's playing against. With the length of reach that he's got, even if you get a good tackle on him, there's a good chance that he's going to get over the line.
That's going to fall a little bit shy. So the first miss of the night for Katrakilis. The long pass out for Nandolo, and very little that Saints could do.
He's just got the space to ride the tackle, hasn't he? Get those legs, he almost jumps away from the tackle of PC, who's been so good at defending him since he came on.
£26 points to 10. Bonus points secure. Pool 4 as it stands, and the 16-point margin all important as far as Montpellier are concerned, because it puts them ahead of Toulon, who are on 15 in Pool 3, and they will now know that they need, at the very least, a losing bonus at Allianz against the defending champions tomorrow. Live on BT Sport from 3 o'clock, by the way. And they are now 2 points clear of Glasgow Warriors, who are on 14 points. Toulouse also on 14 points. So it really does give them enormous hope to go through to the quarterfinals as one of the 3 best runners-up.
There's literally not a lot you can do there against that technique, can you? It's the way he skips those feet round away from the tackler and then uses the landing to accelerate into the corner, drive into the corner. Here's Northampton though. That's really good. They need to get the ball hidden underneath their bellies, not on top. The hands are on it. That's going to prevent the players that would be pushing now have to fight for it. They've gone all the way to the line, but they might turn this over, and they have.
Montpellier with the ball. Tomas O'Leary onto the field at scrum half, a familiar figure from Munster and London Irish, of course. And the ball cleared safely away by Katrakilis, taken quickly by Saints. PC looking to link up with Wilson, who has to drive in with the clear out instead. Mike Hayward is onto the field now as well. Presumably he's playing in the back row, given that James Fish was brought on as the replacement hooker. Hayward not due to take part this evening at all. Initially, only here on account of Jamie Gibson's injury. Taken on by Kessel, and Kessel will score. Saints refusing to lie down here in Montpellier. Surely the scoreline out of reach for them from here on, but Kessel showing a great eye for a gap and good power.
It's brilliant by Kessel, because the boot's coming in to fly hack it away from his grip, and he just whips it up, accelerates. Real poacher's try.
Well, that's good goal kicking from JJ Hanrahan. So Northampton just making sure that they're not going down without a fight, as they have done on both previous occasions in Europe away from home. Well beaten by Castres in round 2 by 41 points to 7, and then of course that hammering at the hands of Leinster, where they conceded 60 points in Dublin. So significant for them to maintain their momentum, the momentum they built up in recent weeks. They've won their last 4 matches, remember. Just have to make sure that they don't go home with their tails between their legs with a big scoreline against them.
Another big shot from Harrison defensively. He's been absolutely superb for Saints tonight.
Big cheer for Nemani Nandolo, named man of the match.
Can't believe they've given it to him. It's been rubbish, hasn't he?
What a game he has had, what a player he is. And if you talk big in the week, then as Nemani Nandolo did, and he made it very clear how he felt about the humbling that they suffered in Dublin, you have to deliver. And I think there is little doubt he has done that this evening. All 6'4" and 20 stone of him. Inevitable comparisons with Jonah Lomu, given his power and stature, but in fact I think it's worth pointing out that he's a good 2 stone heavier than Jonah was.
That's a different game now from when Jonah burst onto the scene. No one had any wings that were that were a similar size. Now everyone seems to have a big wing. You'd never have seen a George North back then on the wing. He probably would have been pigeonholed into the forwards at a young age. But now we see it, it sort of makes guys like Nandolo even more incredible, because the physicality of the backs is so much higher.
He's the embodiment, really, of the legacy that Jonah Lomu left.
Absolutely.
Point. Set.
So here are the top 8 as we stand at the moment, with Leinster sitting up there on 23 points, but Clermont, Saracens, Munster and Connacht all to play. Montpellier up into 7th place with their 16 points, so really able to apply a little bit of pressure from here and at least ask the questions of Glasgow and Toulon in particular when they play tomorrow. Both of the games featuring those sides live on BT Sport tomorrow. Sarries Toulon from 3 o'clock, Leicester Glasgow from Welford Road 5:15, all preceded by Clermont Exeter at 12:30. It's going to be a fascinating series of matches, and a reminder as well that straight after this is over at 10 o'clock you can see the interview with Richard Cockerell, conducting it midweek in Toulon after his arrival there. The working relationship that he has with Mike Ford now, and the opportunity that he's been given on the Côte d'Azur. Well worth a look. Cockers, a Tiger in Toulon from 10 o'clock this evening.
Who did that interview, Ali?
Can I plead the 5th? I didn't have to do an awful lot, if I'm honest. Mr. Cockerell is one of life's more open, gregarious human beings. So the clock has gone red, but still Timana Harrison rages forward. Just the kind of thing that Eddie Jones will love to see with the Six Nations approaching. The match is done, but Harrison is still going at full bore. Tuatavaki's cut down, this time by Henry Immelman. This is George North on the ball. Saints looking to finish with something more. 2 tries to their name this evening through their 2 nines, Dixon and Kessel, but onwards they come through Peacey. Kessel for Hanrahan. And that's fumbled, and that will be the final act. Cruel on Timana Harrison, who has had a storming game, but Montpellier are clear winners tonight with a bonus point that may just point the way to the quarterfinals. Certainly they're part of the conversation. They've applied the heat to Glasgow and Toulon, and they have won this match by 26 points to 17, and they've done it in stunning fashion, largely through their enormous winger Nemani Nondolo, who scored 2 tries, set up a third, and was comfortably man of the match. It was a terrific performance from a fabulous player. So much power, so much strength, but some beautiful soft skills as well. A real exhibition from Nondolo. Montpellier the winners, and they will hope beyond hope that a quarter-final place might just be within grasp as a result. Full time here in Montpellier. Montpellier 26, Northampton Saints 17.